Professor Sachs, welcome here. Thank you very much for joining us. I have a lot of issues to ask you about. I want to start first with your field of expertise as an economist. Why are bonds volatile? If I own a bond because I've loaned money to the government, why is the value of that bond going down? But if I want to lend money to the government tomorrow, the interest the government has to pay me is going up.
Well, that's the same thing. Price of bond going down means that the yield is rising. The yield is rising because the willingness to hold U.S. government securities is diminishing because the United States is very heavily indebted, because our government policies are erratic, because the budget deficit is huge. So all of this means that the attractiveness of holding U.S. securities is going down. Governments abroad are holding fewer and fewer American securities in their overall foreign exchange portfolios. And so 30-year interest rates have now well exceeded 5%. This is a huge rise in recent years. We had the Treasury Secretary say that they were going to do maneuvers to keep the interest rates down. The markets shrug that off, and interest rates continue to rise, or bond prices fall. It's the same thing because of the inverse relationship. But the point is that the attractiveness of U.S. Government securities is diminishing because of a government that is profligate, is running huge budget deficits, has no plans to get the deficit under control, and the debt has already reached officially $40 trillion was the recent announcement in the last few days. Given all of this, we're in a high and rising interest rate world. This means that when people have to borrow for mortgages for their homes, they find that this is becoming impossible to afford.
Does the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, know what he's doing? Is he a well-respected economist in your economic community?
I've never seen anything like this Treasury Secretary during my career. He has the least interest in the U.S. economy of any Treasury Secretary, I think, in our modern history. He's basically there as an enforcer of attacks on other countries. You know, he was put in because he was an associate that was part of the attack on the British pound. He speaks like a gangster, like a thug. We're going to destroy your economy. We're going to bring down your currency. He calls that economic statecraft. But his knowledge, awareness, and concern about the U.S. economy itself is basically zero. I can't recall one intelligent statement that he has made about the U.S. economy or the budget. It's something outside of his domain. He is there as an enforcer of U.S. sanctions regimes against other countries. He's there to attack other currencies, to attack the economy of Iran, to attack the economy of Cuba, to attack the economy of all these countries that Trump threatens every day. Not much comes of any of this anymore. People shrug off when Trump says, we're going to destroy your economy if you don't listen to us, because as he said just today, about countries that don't follow the U.S. line on Iran. It's basically shrugged off. But these statements are so shrill, they're unbelievable, coming from anybody of any responsibility in any political system, much less the president of the United States. But this is what Bessent's role seems to be. Otherwise, again, I'm sure I have missed statements, but I cannot recall one intelligent comment, even one comment about the U.S. economy, about the budget, about the deficit, about the debt, about its trajectory, about U.S. economic development strategy. nothing. He's just not a Treasury Secretary in the normal sense.
I'm going to jump to foreign affairs, Professor Sachs, but as I do, or right before I do, I want to play a clip for you from a general who is the Iranian Revolutionary Guard spokesperson, who basically says Trump uses childish words and nobody takes him seriously. Almost what you just said about Scott Bessent. Chris, cut number 25.
This period has specific characteristics, including being very short-sighted, meaning a childish behavior. There is no foresight in what is being said, meaning when they speak, they don't even think about, say, 24 hours later. An important major international leader must see the depth of their words, even 50 or 100 years into the future, that will be recorded in history. But their characteristic is that they can't even predict up to tomorrow, and, so to speak, make a statement that is measured, forward-looking, and based on foresight. His words have no basis or foundation, but his statements have damaged America's power. We don't rely on these words at all. I mean, I rely on this driver's word much more because he shows up on time. But he keeps saying things that are proven false the very next day. You shouldn't rely on these words too much at all. In my opinion, the media shouldn't pay much attention to the words of the current U.S. president either, who just says useless things everywhere.
Tell me they don't have a good handle on Donald Trump.
It's a very precise statement, very articulately put. Remember, by the way, Iran has been a leading power of the world for 2,500 years. So this is a country that has considerable experience in statecraft. It has been a great empire for a great period of the time. And they, I think, are absolutely amazed at what passes for United States policy, if one wants to call it that. These are rants by an 80-year-old frustrated old man. And that's what he's saying. So he was speaking with precision, actually.
In the past week, Professor Sachs, President Trump has canceled war exercises in South Korea at the last minute, praised Kim Jong-un, chastised South Korea for not sending ships to the Strait of Hormuz. They have a very limited navy, as we know, and sent South Korea a bill for $10 billion, which, of course, they've ignored. What's going on?
It's all of a piece that we're hearing. We have an incoherent rant from the President of the United States on any given day, on any given issue. The world leaders understand just what you heard from the Iranian official just now, which is these words don't mean anything, and the United States cannot be counted on for anything right now, because on any given moment of any given day, anything is possible. And this we are seeing, of course, not only in the completely erratic behavior of U.S. foreign policy, but we're seeing it in the decisions that are being taken by governments all over the world to reassess their security arrangements, to find alternative security arrangements. There are important changes underway in the Middle East for the same reason, with Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and probably Egypt soon forming a new strategic security arrangement. This is part of a reassessment taking place essentially in every place of the world, and governments stumble. You saw statements by South Korean leaders this is the core of our security arrangement. The United States is our key ally and so forth. But in truth, at the leadership level everywhere in the world, there is a reassessment of the geopolitics, of security, of how to deal with the completely erratic and unpredictable United States. It goes back to the rising interest rates. One part of the answer is don't hold U.S. Treasury securities. And there are many other ramifications, all of them, I would say, adverse from the U.S. point of view. To be untrustworthy is extremely costly for any country. To be perceived as untrustworthy is deeply undermining any country's capacity to operate. But when you are the United States and you have military bases not only in Korea, but in roughly 75 to 80 countries around the world, and every one of them is wondering, does that make us a target? Are we the next to be thrown overboard? What will happen to our relationship tomorrow? Trump has made, again, those threats which you briefly posted, that any country that doesn't do exactly what we say vis-a-vis Iran, we are going to punish to the maximum extent. This is something that every government in the world is dealing with right now. And as you know, I speak with leaders all over the world on a regular basis. It is, you don't hear any place in the world any kind of respect or sense of order in the United States right now.
You know, the president is so obsequious towards Kim Jong-un. I'm thinking, is it because Kim Jong-un has a nuclear weapon? And then I'm thinking, maybe Donald Trump is giving us the best reason why Iran should have a nuclear weapon. I don't think the Israelis and the Americans would have invaded if Iran had one.
Yes, but just remember that Trump turns on every ally for some reason or another, no matter what that ally means for the United States. So the idea of, yes, praising North Korea or turning on South Korea, this is not something special about Korea. This is something about Donald Trump and about the nature of American politics right now, a completely erratic, irrational, and absolutely improvisational scene. Again, to go back to what the Iranian official said, it's minute to minute or hour to hour strange statements that cannot be the basis of any decision making per se.
Yeah. Chris, can you post to the APAC full screen? I don't know if you've seen this. Now, this is from APAC. First of all, look at what they've done with the Star of David and an American flag. Okay, all right, I get it. They are Americans who are foreign agents. They don't have to register as foreign agents, but they boast that more than 254 APAC-backed candidates from both parties have now advanced to the November general election. Now, that's 254 races for the Congress of the United States being funded by AIPAC. When I ran this before Colonel McGregor, he said to me, I'm really disappointed to see this. I know some of the people. Chris, if you want to put it back up, he didn't mention any names. He said, I know some of the people there. They are not Zionists, but they are afraid to buck AIPAC. They are afraid to reject AIPAC's money. Have you ever heard of anything like this, Professor Sachs?
Well, I think the interesting point right now is that AIPAC is losing more elections than it's winning. This boast is absolutely empty, in fact. Basically, AIPAC gives money to incumbents. Incumbents in the United States win re-election But when you look at open races right now, the ones that say my opponent is taking money from AIPAC, the ones that are saying that being enthralled to Israel is destructive of American interests, they are the ones that are winning most of the elections right now. So I think AIPAC's boasts are absolutely the opposite of the truth. Yes, they funded incumbents that have won elections because they fund a lot of incumbents, and incumbents win elections. But when you look at where races are competitive right now, you just had the Senate race in Michigan, where the candidate that attacked his opponent as taking AIPAC money won the election. You had the same in Minnesota, where the candidate supported by AIPAC lost in a very large race. You had many congressional races where candidates won on the basis of saying that their opponent was backed by AIPAC. And the reason that this is happening is the American people have turned against Israel, and for understandable reasons, because Israel is a murderous government. It is a genocidal government. The American people are not murderous and genocidal, and they have turned their support to the Palestinian people, who have been slaughtered by the Israelis and who are being killed every single day. And now to be a candidate backed by AIPAC is absolutely a liability in American politics in open races. So AIPAC's boast is completely empty. And I think that that is the main point. They are not winning, and Israel, as I have said now for years, is committing political suicide because it has lost the support of the American people. And this is in both parties. Where Israel still has support is in older cohorts of the Republican Party.
Right.
If you look at people who are younger Americans, it doesn't matter whether you are Republicans, Democrats, or independents, you are disgusted by Israel, by being a murderous, genocidal state, and you don't want to vote for candidates that support murder. And this is what's happening in America. So AIPAC's boast is really trying to make the best of what has been a disastrous period for them, and will continue to be more and more of a disaster, because the American people have their eyes open, and on the majority, the large majority now, they are completely disgusted.
Why doesn't AIPAC have to register as a foreign agent?
Well, you know, this is a long-standing controversy that this is American money. This is just Americans who support Israel, and it is a debated point. But I think the main point, if I may say so, is that the American people do not support Israel. Yes, some demographic groups that are now a decided minority of America do support Israel, but most Americans do not. And so whatever AIPAC is, or however it should be registered, the fact of the matter is it is a losing proposition. A country should learn, do not commit genocide and expect to maintain the support you need from your most powerful backer. Israel depends fundamentally for its security on the United States, and the U.S. has lost interest, and for understandable reasons, because Israel's behavior is the worst. It is the worst one can imagine. It is genocidal.
So last week, a Democratic member of the Florida House of Representatives introduced a resolution condemning the slaughter in Palestine. And during the debate, she said, tens of thousands have been killed. How many more have to die? And a Republican member of the House of Representatives shouted back at her, all of them. The resolution was defeated, 2 in favor, 102 against. 2 days later, that person who introduced the resolution, whose name is Angie Nixon, won the Democratic primary for Senate in Florida, which is exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, I think that it is absolutely clear that AIPAC represents what the American people increasingly despise. They can brag all they want. Israel can think that it has the support, but it has lost it. And Israel has put itself at, I would say, absolutely fundamental risk, because they are not only completely misunderstanding reality, they're murderers, and murderers don't continue to maintain support.
Right. Professor Sachs, thank you very much. I know it's late where you are. It may even be tomorrow already, but thank you very much for joining us. Deeply appreciated. Safe travels. I look forward to seeing you and Sonia next week when you're back in New York. All the best.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Great to be
Thank
with
you.
you.